Discover the incredible 36-hour fast, how your organs transform in unexpected, life-changing ways. Emily sat in the back of the community center, fingers tightly wrapped around a lukewarm cup of coffee, feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders. Her day had been exhausting, 12 hours on her feet, tending to patients, ensuring their comfort. Now, her kids needed her too, their laughter echoing inside her tired mind. The thought of bills piling up loomed like dark clouds. But tonight, something felt different. As the local health guru spoke about the wonders of a 36-hour fast, Emily leaned in. Her heart raced with a strange mix of hope and fear. Could this really bring her the energy she craved? Imagine the clarity. The energy, the guru exclaimed, his eyes shining with fervor. Reclaiming your health while discovering layers of yourself you never knew existed. Each word electrified the room, awakening a yearning within her. Could this be her chance? The flickering candle of her dreams flickered back to life as she envisioned herself, full of vitality, being the mother her children needed. Around her, a small circle of mothers nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting her own struggles. "I'm in," one said, a newcomer with tired eyes that revealed tales of sleepless nights. Emily felt a rush of encouragement as the conversation flowed, each woman unraveling their burdens. In that moment, hope knitted them together, their vulnerabilities blossoming into a makeshift family, a sisterhood of support against their common foes, exhaustion, worry, and the strain of being single moms. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet as their excitement bubbled over, a nearby commotion shattered the hopeful mood. News spread like wildfire. Paul, the kind shopkeeper known for his unwavering smile and warm greeting, had been accused of theft. Emily's stomach dropped. The accusations flew, fueled by nothing more than whispers and prejudice, striking fear into the heart of their beloved town. Just days ago, she had bought fresh bread from him. Paul was family. Emily watched as the mothers' faces shifted from joy to anger, their supportive conversation warping into an argument over sides, prejudice seeping into their hearts like poison. The spirit of their shared breakthrough became tangled in the riptide of injustice. Torn between standing up to defend Paul and continuing her journey, Emily's heart raced. It was all too much. Was she prepared to face the backlash that would come if she dared voice her opposition? The clock ticked in her mind, an echo of the decision looming before her. Would she have the courage to face both her own fears and the chase of justice? As she stood to address the crowd, words barely forming in her mind, a sudden twist, an old, familiar voice in the back of the room yelled, "I can't believe you're defending him after what I heard." The weight of the moment pressed heavily on Emily's chest. She could feel the eyes on her, questioning her resolve. The room waited, hanging in silence, waiting for her next move. Emily's heart thudded wildly in her chest, each beat ricocheting through the silence that followed. The voice that had just spoken belonged to Karen, a longtime acquaintance from the PDA, known for her sharp tongue and stronger opinions. The tension in the air thickened, wrapping around Emily like a vice. "I'm not defending him, Karen," she replied, her voice steady despite the quiver of uncertainty running through her. "I'm standing up for the truth. Paul isn't a thief." Around the room, gasps rippled through the crowd, followed by hushed whispers. It felt like standing on a tightrope. One false move and she might plummet into the depths of judgment and backlash. Still, she couldn't ignore the warmth in her chest, the shared laughter and stories just moments ago, the bond of support she felt. "Have you heard the rumors?" Karen pressed. Her voice dripped with disdain. "They're everywhere. It's not just gossip, Emily. People are hurt, and they have a right to know. They have a right to be fair." Emily shot back, heat flooding her cheeks. "We can't let fear dictate our actions. What if we're wrong? Each word felt like a small rebellion, and she was surprised at the strength she found within herself. As the conversation surged around her like a chaotic wave, she caught the eye of the newcomer with the tired eyes, the one who had spoken up earlier about wanting change. The woman nodded, as if to say she was with Emily. In that moment, her courage began to grow like roots breaking through concrete. Paul has always been good to us. He has never done anything wrong. Why are we letting rumors tear us apart? Emily felt the heat of conviction rise, emboldening her with every breath. She needed to take a stand for her values, for the kind of community she wanted to help build. Karen looked back at her, shock etching her features. This isn't just about Paul, Emily. It's about protecting our community. What if he is guilty? Emily's stomach lurched. What if he isn't? What if we lose someone who means so much to all of us because we let fear take hold? Her heart raced as she glanced at the other mothers, weighing her words. We're stronger than this division. We can't allow fear to control how we treat each other. A murmur rippled through the room. Faces turned toward her, some skeptical, others nodding in wary agreement. Emily took a deep breath, sensing she was standing at a precipice. The tension hung thick in the air, an unbreakable silence where the unspoken questions lingered. Would her fellow mothers rise to the occasion? I know it's hard to believe, she continued, her voice softer now. But we need to remember what it feels like to be part of a family. What it feels like to support one another even when the road gets rough. As she spoke, her heart pounded louder, the truth of her words echoing in her own mind. Was this the moment where everything shifted for her? Would she emerge from the shadows of self-doubt? Just then, an unexpected voice cut through the silence, a voice she recognized from the back of the room. Are we really going to let one misstep ruin someone's life? Emily turned to see it was Tom, her neighbor, known for having a strong sense of right and wrong. It was a voice of hope she hadn't anticipated. Had he really been listening? As he continued, Emily felt a flicker of possibility ignite within her. Maybe, just maybe, this was the moment when they would come together to reclaim not just their community but their own strength. But would they? Would they stand united for the truth, or would the tide of fear sweep them apart? The murmur of uncertainty escalated again, leaving Emily at the edge of a new, destabilizing journey. Emily could feel the heaviness in the air shift slightly. Tom's words had stirred something inside her, a shared resolve that seemed to resonate with the others. Faces in the crowd softened, expressions turning from skepticism to contemplation. She could see the wheels turning in their minds, the flicker of hope dancing in their eyes. What Tom said is right, another voice chimed in, clearer and steadier than before. It was Lisa, an outspoken member of the group, known for being a champion of the underdog. This isn't just about Paul. It's about us, about who we are as a community. We can't let fear and doubt define us. Shock waves coursed through the room again, but this time they felt different, more like sparks igniting a flame. Emily's heart swelled. She had not been alone in her thoughts, there were others willing to take a stand alongside her. The tide seemed to be shifting. Karen's face, however, remained a mask of stubborn disbelief. You can't be serious. Are you really going to stand with someone who has been accused? This isn't just child's play, ladies. We're talking about our safety. Emily stepped forward, her voice rising above the chatter. And what about our humanity, Karen? What about compassion? The room fell silent again. It was as if the air had thickened once more, but this time, it was seeping with a tension of hesitation, but also determination. Would they heed the call for unity? What price would they pay for their fears? As if sensing their collective uncertainty, Emily added, let us not forget what it's like to feel vulnerable, to feel scared of being judged. Paul might need us now more than ever. In times like this, aren't we supposed to lean on each other? A soft murmur began to spread, mothers nodding hesitantly, faces turned towards one another as if searching for answers in their shared gazes. I've known Paul for years, another mother spoke up from the back, Beth, usually reserved and quiet. Her voice trembled, yet it held a strength that surprised even her. He's helped organize events for our kids. This feels so wrong to just vilify him without proof. Are we really willing to erase the good because of shadows? Emily felt a surge of gratitude for Beth's courage. With every passing moment, the bonds of community began to weave themselves tighter together, creating an invisible fortress around their shared resolve. But still, Karen remained unmoved. Even if he's been good to us, that doesn't make him innocent. We'll regret this later if we get it wrong, she shot back, her tone sharp. What if you're wrong, Karen? Emily countered, emboldened by the gathering support. What if he loses everything over false claims? We need to pause and think about what kind of community we want to be. One that jumps to conclusions or one that stands by its own? The air buzzed with a mix of agreement and dissent, questions pouring forth from a few mothers in the crowd. They were fighting not just for Paul but for fissures in their own values, the kind of people they wanted to be, the kind of children they wished to raise. As Emily looked around, she could see it, the shift from disquiet to solidarity. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy. She knew that. But she felt an undeniable sense of hope bubbling up inside her. There would be challenges. She would need to dig deep and push through the uncertainty ahead. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the side of the room. A table had tipped over, sending papers and coffee cups flying. It drew every eye, even Karen's, giving Emily a moment to collect herself. What had seemed like a brewing storm was now her battleground, a place where she could stand tall for truth, for community, for Paul. As the whispers of the crowd began to settle into a more organized dialogue, uncertainty loomed large on Emily's mind. Would this newfound courage hold against the true test awaiting them? As she braced herself for what was to come, she wondered who else would step forward to join them, and would the fire they ignited sustain in the face of the challenges ahead? The room had moments ago thrummed with tension, but in the wake of the crash, an undeniable current of energy crackled. Emily could see the shift in posture around her, shoulders were straightening, chins were lifting. The nervous energy mixed with determination, rising in palpable waves that filled the air with an unforeseen strength. All right, everyone, Emily said, trying to seize the moment and rally the group. Let us refocus. We're here to weigh our choices and support each other. Can we find common ground? Tom stepped closer to Emily, his face intent. I think we're getting somewhere. If we open this up for discussion, perhaps we can figure out a way to approach this together. Karen crossed her arms defiantly. Or we could be marching towards disaster. Do we really want to risk the safety of our children? Emily felt a pang at Karen's words, but dismissed it quickly. This isn't about placing blame, it's about understanding. We need to ask questions first. She paused, letting her words sink in. What do we know for sure about Paul and the accusations? A ripple of murmurs spread across the group, each mother exchanging glances. Questions hung in the air like unripe fruit, heavy, yet ready to fall. It's easy to get swept up in suspicion, Lisa murmured, her brow creased with thought. But instead of division, maybe we can be part of the solution. Someone mentioned a community meeting, Beth suggested. What if we invited both sides? Maybe hearing firsthand would help? Nods began to scatter through the crowd, like branches swaying in a soft breeze. Hope blossomed, though still marred with uncertainty. Emily could feel it. This was a step toward unity, yet layers of fear still clung to the room. Karen shifted again, her expression softening just a bit. But how do we know what we would hear is the truth? People can twist words for their own agenda. Then we stay vigilant, together, Emily urged, finding newfound confidence in her voice. If we're united, if we listen actively, we stand a better chance at finding clarity. Let us not allow fear to overshadow compassion. This time, no one spoke up immediately, the lingering silence filled with contemplation. The urge to protect their own, the desire for fairness, the struggle for the right choice weighed heavily as each mother fought an internal battle. And then, a small voice from the back pierced through the quiet, the daughter of one of the mothers. But what if Paul didn't do anything wrong? Does that mean he should be punished? Mom, I like him. He always says hi to me. Tears sprang to Emily's eyes. The simplicity of the child's insight, untainted by adult fears, was a brutal reminder of the humanity at the heart of the issue. The room shifted again, as the realization that they were not just deciding the fate of an adult but affecting children, too, echoed around them. A murmur of agreement and murmurs of she's right began to break through the weight of doubt. But just as hope rekindled, so too did the fear. Emily could see Karen's brow furrow further in hesitation, and more distressing, she noticed a few mothers glance at each other, concern brewing anew. Trust isn't that easy, especially now. Karen finally spoke loudly enough to redirect the focus. What if we end up hurting someone else going into this? Emily took a breath. The road was still rocky, their rallying cry might be silenced at any moment by shadows lurking outside their conversation. Then we do it through love and not division, Emily countered. Everything we decide, we'll face together. But we must act in the light, not the dark. As the words left her lips, a new resolve settled over the gathering. They now faced uneasy choices, real risks, and a fragile hope that teetered on the edge of discovery. What would happen next? Would they have the strength to carry the weight of their truth, no matter how daunting? In that moment, as eyes locked in deeper understanding, Emily knew everything hung in the balance. How far would they go for justice? And would their new unity thrust them into a fight they weren't prepared for? A shudder of uncertainty raced through her, unstoppable and fierce. What if their choices led them towards something far grander or darker than they anticipated? The murmur of voices quieted as the weight of Emily's words sank in, settling over the group like a heavy fog. The air pulsed with a mix of anxiety and hope, leaving everyone suspended, teetering on the edge of decision. One by one, the women exchanged cautious glances. Lisa finally broke through the silence. Maybe we can start by gathering any information we can about Paul. If he's innocent, we need to support him. If not, well, we deal with that, too. Her voice had a tremor of resolve that seemed to ignite a spark in the room. Agreed, Tom said. We need to know more about the situation before we rush to judgment. It's about being fair, right? Karen hesitated. But what if it turns out we're wrong? What if we give him a platform to twist the narrative? We can't let our kids be in danger. Then we approach it carefully, Emily responded, striving to keep the spirits high amidst the growing tension. This needs to be community-driven. We can set guidelines, and we will all listen together. Nods of agreement passed through the group, but Karen's face still bore a frown. And if this meeting only brings chaos? What then? We adapt, Emily said firmly. And we promise to talk through our fears openly. Each voice matters here, including the children. She felt emboldened, sensing the fragile threads of hope weaving tighter among them. As night settled outside, the gathering shifted into planning mode. They discussed logistics, how to reach out to both sides, and the structure of the meeting. With each idea bounced back, Emily felt the air grow lighter, though the ghosts of doubt still lingered in the corners. Suddenly, a chime broke through the noise. It was Emily's phone. Glancing at the screen, her heart raced. It was a message from Paul. Can I come by tomorrow? I want to talk to you. I have something important to say. An uncomfortable tension knotted in her stomach. Would he try to spin his version of the story? Did she want to meet with him alone? What is it? Tom asked, noticing her expression. Emily swallowed hard, unsure how to respond. It's Paul. He wants to meet tomorrow. She felt the group's eyes on her, their interest piqued, and the old fears slithering back into view. Why now? Karen asked. What could he possibly offer? I don't know, Emily admitted, the uncertainty weighing heavier now. I think he wants to share his side, but she hesitated, the implications of his visit swirling in her mind. The murmurs rose once more. Some urged her to meet him, believing it was the only way to gain perspective. Others worried it could be a trap. I want to do what's best for our kids, Emily said firmly, locking eyes with each woman. But I need your support. This can't be just my decision. A collective breath swept through the group as a silent understanding passed among them all. They had banded together under one unsteady banner, one that may unravel or grow stronger. As the frantic discussions continued, Emily's pulse quickened. They were on the brink of something, a discovery that could change everything. The weight of hesitation morphed into determination as she felt their collective energy surge. The meeting itself loomed large in her mind, an uncharted frontier filled with potential danger and revelation. What would Paul say? Would it shed light or darkness upon their fears? Emily could practically feel the future hanging in the air like a ripe fruit ready to drop. Would they emerge united or divided? A chill ran down her spine as she realized they were all standing on the cusp of a historic moment. The next few hours could either bind them tightly together or tear them apart. Her heart raced. The meeting was more than just an encounter, it was the pulse of their community and their children's future. As she looked around at her allies, a question echoed in her mind. What truth would they uncover, and at what cost? The morning sunlight filtered through the kitchen window, casting warm patches on the table where Emily nervously tapped her fingers. A mug of cold coffee sat untouched beside her, the steam long evaporated. She had replayed Paul's message in her mind a dozen times, each iteration twisting her stomach tighter. As she glanced at the clock, time seemed to mock her. The knowledge that the meeting was drawing closer poured heavier than any weight on her shoulders. Emily tried to shake off her anxiety, reminding herself of the reasons for this gathering. They needed clarity, for themselves and their children. She had made her choice to meet him, but a flicker of doubt lingered. Outside, the neighborhood appeared to be waking up. Mothers wheeled strollers down the street, while shadows of children danced around, unencumbered by the adult world of fear and suspicion. It was a stark contrast to her swirling thoughts, a harsh reminder that whatever happened today would ripple through these innocent lives. As the midday sun ascended, she received another text. It was from Lisa. Are you okay? You look a little stressed. Remember, we're in this together. Emily felt a flicker of warmth from Lisa's message. They weren't just neighbors or acquaintances, they were allies in a shared struggle. Suddenly, a knock on the door jolted her from her thoughts. Heart racing, she opened it to find Paul standing on her porch. His expression was earnest, the sunlight framing him like the calm before a storm. Hey, he said softly, his voice laden with an air of vulnerability. Thanks for agreeing to meet me. Thanks for coming. Emily stepped aside, and he entered, the space between them thick with tension. They settled at the table, silence enveloping them like a real fog. After a moment, Paul broke the stillness. I know this isn't easy for you. I've seen how the community has reacted. I just need a chance to explain. Emily braced herself. I'll listen, but there are things we need to lay out clearly. There are fears, Paul, about safety, about our children. He nodded, understanding etched on his face. I get that. And I'm scared too. The last few weeks have been hell. Their conversation flowed, at times stammering, at others punctured by the intensity of their emotions. Paul shared his truth, painting a vivid picture of misunderstandings and miscommunications, laying bare his hurt. He spoke of the accusations and the despair that came with them. As his story unfolded, Emily's perception began shifting. She felt the threads of her assumptions unraveling, but doubt still clung to her like a shadow. Was he weaving a tale, or was this his genuine experience? How could she trust that what he said was real? But just as she opened her heart to listen, the door creaked open. The gathering of women began to trickle in, each one concerned, their faces a mirror of worry and curiosity. The atmosphere instantly thickened with shared anticipation. Are we interrupting? Karen asked, standing at the threshold, her brow furrowed. No, Emily hesitated, feeling the weight of both their gazes. I was just let us in, Lisa interjected, stepping forward, her determination clear. We all need to hear this. Emily felt torn. The anxiety that had filled her earlier returned tenfold. This was no longer just a conversation between her and Paul, it had transformed into a community affair, the stakes raised higher. Paul squared his shoulders, ready for a different kind of scrutiny. A storm brewed, emotions crackling in the air. The confrontation was imminent, and uncertainty loomed like a dark cloud. Are you ready for this? Emily thought, her heart pounding in her chest. The truth hung, trembling on a thread, about to be revealed. Would it bind them together or tear them apart? And in that moment, she realized the truth would come with echoes of past doubt, but also with the potential for healing. Would they be brave enough to face it? The room buzzed with a tense energy, each woman's eyes locking onto Paul as if waiting for a spark to ignite the fire of conversation. Emily felt the heat of their scrutiny bearing down on her. She wasn't sure if it was relief or anxiety flooding her body. Paul shifted in his seat, glancing at the women surrounding them. I didn't know this was going to be a community event, he said, trying to lighten the mood, but the corners of his mouth barely curved up. We're all invested in what has been happening, Karen stated firmly, stepping a little closer. We need to protect our children. We need answers. With a soft inhale, Emily found her voice again. Paul, can you start from the beginning? We need to hear your side, all of it. He took a deep breath, collecting his thoughts. Okay. I've been living in your neighborhood for years, and I never thought anything like this would happen. I thought I was one of you. His gaze swept over each woman, but landed on Emily with a weight. When the accusations surfaced, it felt like a bomb dropped. I was blindsided. The room crackled with his words, but Emily found herself slipping into a memory, a warm afternoon where laughter danced on the air. Paul had always seemed like a good neighbor, just a regular guy. How could things have turned so dark? I just want to clarify something, Paul continued, his voice getting stronger. I've never done anything to harm anyone, especially children. To be branded that way, it's been terrifying. It's not just the fear of others but of losing my place in the world I love. What happened? Lisa's question cut through the tension like a knife, her brow furrowed in determination. Paul swallowed hard. It started when someone saw me talking to a kid at the park. I was showing him how to ride a bike. I've always had a soft spot for kids I enjoy helping, you know? All it takes is a moment, Karen murmured, and Emily noticed a shift in expressions from curiosity to a reluctant sympathy. Exactly, Paul continued. But a parent misinterpreted that moment. Rumors spread, they exploded. I've spent weeks fighting to clear my name. I never felt so alone until the walls went up around me. Each word carved deeper into the intricate tension, and Emily felt the women's resolve waver as compassion crept into the space. That's why I came here today. I want to meet all of you, face to face. I'm not trying to hide, I want to explain. I want my community back. Whispers erupted, darting back and forth among the ladies. Some exchanged glances filled with empathy, others held strong to their skepticism. Emily's heart raced. Could they find resolution here? Could they bridge the gap between fear and hope? Lisa started, her voice softer now. What do you think? Emily felt the eyes on her as she considered her next words. So much clarity and confusion wrestled within her. In their shared struggle for understanding, could they coalesce hope from despair? What if she hesitated, her pulse quickening? What if we could find a way to clear the air collectively? We need to work through this together. Can we? A palpable silence fell. Every woman seemed to hold her breath, suspended in possibility. Paul looked at her, a mix of relief and uncertainty washing over him. I wouldn't want to do this without all of you, he replied quietly, the sincerity in his voice wrapping around the room. Just then, the sound of children's laughter floated in from outside, lulling the tension momentarily. They were reminders of innocence, of familial bonds that needed to be protected, just as fiercely as the truth needed to be unveiled. But amidst a faint flicker of hope, a distant shout fractured the moment. A voice, raw and panicked, called out, "Where are you?" The women turned, dread draining the initial warmth from the air. What is going on? Emily whispered, as a growing sense of dread overshadowed the potential for healing. The truth felt on the verge of collapse, teetering between light and shadow, and the gathering storm loomed just beyond their fragile connection. What would happen next? The moment hung thick in the air, the children's laughter seemingly swallowed by the impending dread. Where are you? Echoed again, closer this time, a desperate wail slicing through the tension. Time stilled as every face in the room shifted from curiosity to alarm. Emily's heart hammered in her chest. That sounded like she hesitated, fear curling tight in her stomach. Doubt and worry paraded through her mind. The door burst open, and a frantic woman rushed in, her brown hair wild, eyes wide with fear. My son. He's gone. Please, help me. A chill cascaded through the room, the air electrified with panic. Emily's hands trembled as she made eye contact with Paul. There was an unspoken understanding, this moment would change everything. Stay calm, Paul said, standing even as his own voice quivered slightly. What happened? Where did he last see him? The woman seemed to struggle to catch her breath, her cheeks flushed with urgency. We were at the park. He was right by the swings. I turned my back for just a moment, and he was gone. Emily felt her breath hitch. The park. The very place Paul had mentioned earlier. The accusation hung like a dark cloud, twisting the narrative even more tightly. Did anyone see anything? Lisa asked, her voice steadying as she pulled her phone out, her fingers moving quickly across the screen. No, no one. All I saw was a shadow, a man I think. The woman's face contorted in disbelief, tears streaming down her cheeks. This can't be happening. The tension shifted in the room, whispers stirred through the women, fragile threads woven between fear and blame. Each woman glanced at Paul, recognition passed between them. I'm going back to the park, Paul said, the determination sharp in his voice. I'll help you search. Wait. Emily called out, urgency bubbling up. What if the person who took him is still out there? I need to find the boy, Paul said, stepping towards the door, his eyes earnest. You can't go alone. Karen exclaimed, shifting nervously. Let us all go. The more eyes, the better. Together, they moved in instinctive unison, the air thick now with a sense of urgency. Outside, the sun seemed to hold its light in a muted hush, as if the world held its breath in anticipation. As they hurried towards the park, a flood of questions surged through Emily's mind. Was Paul truly innocent? Was this dark moment merely a coincidence, or was the community being swept into deeper shadows? The park came into view, filled with laughter now tainted by fear. Familiar surroundings, but every nook felt foreign and fraught with tension. Children's voices danced, but where was the lost boy? Panic crested as they entered the playground. Parents searched in frantic beats, calling out names, desperation thickening the atmosphere. He's not here. The frantic mother exclaimed, pacing, her voice raw. Emily felt her heart sink. What if the darkness rumors had conjured became reality in the cruelest twist of fate? How far had they slipped from the light of trust? Just then, a small voice piped up from behind the bushes. Help. I'm stuck. The crowd turned sharply. Relief shot through Emily, hope igniting amidst the fear. But as they rushed toward the sound, a thought flickered in her mind. Was this the moment they would finally uncover the truth, or was it just the beginning of something even more chaotic? In that moment of potential clarity, something caught her eye, a figure slipping silently from the park's entrance, slipping away from the gathering crowd. Who's that? She whispered, a knot of unease tightening. Was this the answer they were searching for, or merely another layer of mystery to unravel? Emily's heart raced as the figure moved just beyond the tree line. Could it be connected to the missing boy? She hesitated, torn between duty and instinct. A voice at the back of her mind urged her to follow. Wait. She darted behind the thick trunks, ignoring the cries of the others surrounding the bushes. She could glimpse the figure's silhouette, a man, moving quickly, desperation in his stance. Hey! She called out, but he didn't stop. He quickened his pace, seeming to blend into the shadows more and more. Emily. Where are you? Paul's voice rang out, tinged with panic. But she couldn't go back yet. Not while a possibility lingered. The man paused for a second, glancing over his shoulder. His face was obscured, but fear flickered in his eyes. Something about the way he held himself felt wrong. Was he involved? Don't lose him, she whispered, urging herself to move. She peered around a tree just in time to see him slip through a gap in the fence surrounding the park. With a surge of adrenaline, she bolted after him, dodging branches that clawed at her arms. The threads of unease twisted tighter around her. What if he was the one who hurt the little boy? The thought made her skin crawl. Outside the fence, the street was eerily quiet. The man had turned the corner, but she could hear footsteps echoing in the distance. She followed, her breaths short and uneven, each step propelled by sheer determination. Emily. Paul's frantic voice echoed again, pulling at her resolve. She could picture him scanning the park, the hurt in his voice tangible. No, she couldn't afford to think of that now. A child was missing. Turning the corner, she saw him up ahead, glancing nervously around as though expecting eyes to witness his movements. What was he hiding? She slowed her pace, careful not to make a sound. A chill ran up her spine as she moved closer, just enough to hear the faintest murmur. I didn't mean for this to happen. The words, barely audible, wrapped around her like fog, thick and foreboding. She ducked closer, feeling her pulse quicken. What didn't you mean? She whispered to herself, desperation clawing at her throat. Suddenly, the man turned sharply. Their eyes locked, and for a brief second, time shattered around them. Who are you? He stammered, eyes wide with panic. I'm looking for the boy. She blurted out, half supported by a hope that maybe, just maybe, he could offer answers. I didn't take him, he exclaimed, hands raised in defense. I didn't want any of this. With those words, the ground beneath Emily seemed to shift, her doubts deepening. The weight of the moment pressed down on her chest. Could he be innocent? Or was this just another piece of the tangled web? Just as she reached for her phone to call for help, she heard a rustle behind her, a voice carrying through the stillness. Emily. Where are you? It was Paul, drawing closer. She turned back to the figure, but in that split second, he seized the opportunity and dashed into a narrow alley, disappearing from sight. Emily. Paul's voice was louder now, filled with an urgency that made her heart pound even more. She hesitated, not sure which way to go. Should she chase the man down? Or run back to Paul? The reality crashed over her like a wave. Each choice seemed fraught with consequence. This was about more than the boy now. This was about truth, fear, and trust. But what if running away meant losing both the boy and the answers? She stood frozen, the decision looming like a dark storm cloud overhead. And then it struck her, would this decision define her? Because right then, it felt like the moment everything could change. Nothing felt certain anymore. But one thing nagged at her mind. If she didn't act, could she live with the weight of what happened next? Emily's heart pounded like a drum as she teetered on the edge of a decision that felt monumental, one that could redefine her and her community. The weight of the missing boy, the figure slipping into the shadows, and Paul's increasingly panicked calls filled her with swirling emotion and urgency. Emily. Paul's voice echoed again, this time much closer. She turned and sprinted back towards the sound, now unsure about the truth of the man she just encountered. Maybe she would find clarity and support with Paul. Bursting back into the park, she saw Paul's worried face appear. His expression shifted from panic to relief as she approached. There you are. I was worried sick. What happened? I saw a man, Emily gasped, trying to catch her breath. He looked suspicious. I think he might be known something about the missing boy. Paul's eyes widened. You left me to chase a stranger? We need to find the boy. I didn't know what to do, Paul. She replied, frustration mixing with anxiety. I just wanted to help. Then let us help together, he urged. We can't afford to waste a moment. As they regrouped, the other mothers arrived, faces pale with fear yet edges hardened with determination. What do we do? Karen asked, her tone sharper than usual. Do we split up? No, Emily interjected. We need to stick together. The police have been alerted. Let us organize. If anyone saw anything, they should come to the pavilion at the center of the park. A small group of mothers nodded, their eyes brightening with a sense of purpose. Together, they began calling out the child's name, their voices rising in unison, covering the park with echoes of hope and fear. Let us go. Lisa shouted, her voice spurring everyone forward, hands clasping as they moved to create a united front. And as they called for the boy, Emily could feel a spirit of solidarity surging through the group, as if the act of standing together transformed their chaos into strength. Moments passed in agonizing silence, each second weighing heavier than the last. Emily's grip tightened around her emotions. Was this the moment everything shifted? The boy's name hung in the air, echoing forever unanswered, but the determination of the group began to settle in her heart. And then, just as hope flickered like a candle about to drown in darkness, a voice broke through the quiet, sweet and small, but undeniably there. I'm here. The relief washed over them like a wave, but it was accompanied by uncertainty. Where was the boy? The mothers rushed towards the sound and around the corner of the pavilion, and there he was. Little Jimmy stood, wide-eyed and trembling but safe. Some mothers cried tears of relief, others gasped at the sight of joy blossoming in a space so tense. The boy's mother rushed forward, enveloping him in a tight embrace. You scared me to death. Paul stood frozen, his face shifting from fear to triumph, but it was Emily who felt her heart swell. The rallying of the community, this fragile bond they now shared, had brought him home. This was the moment where everything came together, where fear was met with compassion and bold action. Yet Emily could feel unease still lingering in the air. The man she had chased into the alley still haunted her thoughts. Would they face suspicion again? How would they protect this newfound unity? Thank you, Paul spoke softly beside her. You kept calm when it mattered most. You're a leader. Emily turned to him, the tears in her eyes blurring the edges of his outline, her heart swelling at their shared victory. We did it together. We all did. As the lovely sounds of reunion faded, one thought still echoed loudly in Emily's heart. This moment wouldn't define them, it was the beginning of a journey. They weren't just a group of mothers anymore, they were a community bound through trials, ready to face whatever lay ahead. In the following days, they would come together, confronting not just the darkness of fear and doubt, but also the light of truth and resolve to stand strong against whatever accusations might arise, ensuring they'd protect not just each other but the spirit of their home. As evening settled in, the last remnants of worry dissipated, merging into the tender embrace of newfound strength. Emily felt hope wrapping around her like a warm hug, the fears of yesterday replaced by assurance for tomorrow. In this moment, surrounded by her sisters of strength, she knew one thing for certain: together, they would rise again. And as you reflect on the power of community, remember, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that can change lives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, your support means everything. Comment your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.